Guys, welcome to another episode of the Ripple Effect Podcast. I am your host, Steve Harper, and I am smiling because I know what you are about to go through, what you're about to experience. I want to say there are people in life that you meet that you just know hold a little something special, a little something, something, right? I met Miss Sasha Grinshpun over 20 years ago. We were both attending an entrepreneur event called Bootstrap Austin at the time. Just to give you a little glimpse into who Steve was back then, lacked confidence, lacked belief, didn't really think he belonged. And here I was in a room full of amazing entrepreneurs, and Miss Sasha and I end up tapping shoulders and striking up a conversation. She was brilliant. And from the moment she started talking, I knew that I was out of my depth immediately.
I think fundamentally, what I see make a difference for people to embrace authentic networking is instead of viewing it as a chore, I view it as play. The way that I am looking at AI, I feel like I'm starting kindergarten again. Like with all of the curiosity of a 5-year-old, but with all of the knowledge of a 50-year-old. When you're learning something new in a way that's really driven by curiosity, it's just a different way of being in the world. And when I go to all these things, people are so bad at their pitches. Like they're so bad at their pitches. And pitches like by itself sounds very salesy, but genuinely, you want people to know who you are and what you do like very quickly.
But she had such a warm and inviting personality, and she's just such a kind-hearted individual that I am pretty sure she felt that uncomfortableness and would not let me go. We ended up having such a great conversation. I remember it to this day. We stayed in contact even after she relocated to California. And we've stayed tangentially in each other's lives thanks to the advent of LinkedIn all these years. But when she agreed to be on the Ripple Effect podcast, I was blown away. I first wanted to interview her because she started posting these things in LinkedIn about these hackathons she was attending. Now, Sasha is not a technologist. She's not necessarily in the technology space. So I was curious because as an executive coach, like what is motivating and driving you? There's so many lessons that can be learned to help you in so many different aspects of your career that these hackathons present opportunities to really understand and grow from a different angle, a different lens, a different perspective. What I admire about Sasha is that when she goes in, she goes all in, and she is 100% committed to whatever she is putting her time and energy towards. And I knew that if she was doing it, then there was probably something I should be paying attention to, and I should be gaining more knowledge and experience. She is really enamored with AI and what the possibilities are. She's using those tools, those capabilities, and the things that she's learning through being in these circles with amazing individuals doing amazing work, not just through her executive coaching, but also through these hackathons that I just wanted to know more. And although our conversation took a few different turns when we did it, I was buzzing after this. I got to be honest. I'm like, why in the hell have I not been like more assertive and engaged with her? Because she is a brilliant, brilliant resource that I would honestly like to tap into that every single week. She's that good. I can see why she is such a in-demand coach. She is just one of the coolest people that you're ever going to have the luxury of meeting. And I am so grateful that we got to get her for the Ripple Effect podcast. She was amazing. And I believe that you guys are going to learn that when you go through this show as well. So whether you're on video, seeing this through the YouTube channel, or you're catching this through any of the audio platforms, let me first and foremost thank you for being here. And I will encourage you to go through this episode twice at minimum. First time, just listen with your ears and your heart, and you're going to see what I see in Sasha. Second time, go and have your Ripple Connection journal at the ready and be prepared to take notes. Now, that could be the offline one or it could be the online one that I've done. So, I'd probably beat a dead horse there. But, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to ripplecentral.com and you'll figure it out pretty quickly. But really, at the end of the day, there are nuggets to be learned and to be gained from this interview. And I am so grateful that she agreed to do this. Our conversation was so dynamic that I have to break this into 2 episodes because our conversation went on much longer than either of us anticipated, but it was that much fun, and I can't wait for the next one. So I have pined on long enough. I want you to now meet Sasha Grinshpun and see what I see in her, because man, you want to talk about an amazing, amazing person. Let's dive into this interview with Sasha. Guys, welcome to the Ripple Effect Podcast. I am here with my good friend, longtime friend, Sasha Grinspun. How are you doing, Sasha?
Life is good. I'm enjoying a sunny day in the heart of Silicon Valley, per usual. So it's great.
You
Life
guys,
is good.
you guys, you guys have the best weather in Silicon Valley. Why? Is that why you chose to move there so many years ago, or it just feels like every time I'm out there, it's like it's just a happy place.
Well, you bring the good weather, Steve. So I think that's part of it. You're a good luck charm, but also, I mean, the reason we moved out, I remember we brought our youngest daughter home from the hospital, literally crossed the threshold into our house. And my husband got a phone call with an offer to work at Google. Literally the day we brought her home from the hospital.
Wow.
But it was also, a great time for me to launch my coaching practice. So I've been doing it now. This little baby that went through the threshold when daddy got a Google offer is a freshman studying AI at Penn. So we've been here, if you do the math, for 19 years. Um, and it's been
Mackerel.
great. Oh, I do miss Austin. So
Yeah.
Austin still has my heart. But yeah, this is it's really fascinating being here, and I always love when folks visit, and I'm getting further embedded in the sort of AI entrepreneurship ecosystem,
Yep.
and I'm always meeting, especially like younger folks that are coming in from all around the world, and they always tell me like the energy here is just like they all want to move here.
Yeah.
Like, their teams don't move fast enough, and they're like, I every time I go here a week, it's like dog years. A week here is like a month anywhere else.
That
So, anyway,
I love that area. I've been out there a number of times, and I can't believe that you and I have not connected. So the next time I'm out there, I'm going to take you and your husband out to dinner, and let's just hang, because it's been way too long. But for my audience, Sasha and I feel like we're really familiar with one another, because believe it or not, we were back in the kind of our origin story. It was we were both got connected. We were both active in an organization called Bootstrap Austin way back in the day, obviously before you moved to Silicon Valley. And I got to be honest with you. You are one of the coolest people I met through that group, and you intimidated the hell out of me because you are so
no, I don't
smart.
believe that for a
Oh,
millisecond.
absolutely. Like, I was always intrigued to talk to you, but I was also a little bit intimidated because you've always struck me as somebody that has their hands on many different pulses, and you are always just your whole pedigree, which we'll get into here in just a second, but just your overall aura of being so, I mean, you're just wicked ass smart. And I was always very, very impressed with you. And I was so sad when you guys moved, but I'm grateful that thanks to social platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn and the different technologies that have come up in that time period, that we've been able to stay connected, but probably not rippling as much as we should. So we're gonna have to change that, which is starting here with this podcast, right? But
Absolutely, yeah.
you just really, really are an impressive individual, and I'm very, very honored you agreed to be on the show.
Well, Steve, the feeling is, enormously mutual. I think one thing the thing that I feel like we're glazing each other as the kids say, but genuinely, I think, the thing that really stands out for me, the way that you approach, coaching is the way that I think everyone should be approaching relationships. There's this, like, you give, 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 and then everything else flows from that. And your ability to create these like interconnected webs of goodness and let's support one another. It's incredibly inspirational. So I hope you understand how mutual this feeling is.
Ah, well, the we could just end the episode right there. Thank you so much.
Mic
I'm
drop.
perfectly honored. I appreciate that so much. And I really I do appreciate those very, very kind words. I don't know that I necessarily live up to that on a daily basis, but I will try. I really I do feel like you and I understood the connecting thing pretty early. We also understood that um in nothing against any of the folks that we knew in the bootstrap days, but everybody was so committed and focused on what they were selling or new startup or whatever. And where I felt like I really appreciated you the most was we didn't actually talk about what we were working on. We talked about, hey, getting to know each other and getting acquainted and where can we support one another and what can we do to become, business friends first, but then personal friends second. And that part I really loved and was so bummed when you moved. But I know you and I had a couple of calls after you left, and we've maintained that. But it's kind of interesting with the advent of all the technology and where life has led us in the last 19 years. Uh, when you go to like a networking function or an organized event, I know you've been doing a number of hackathons as of late, which is kind of what like
Yeah.
kind of piqued my interest in trying to get this thing scheduled. Where do you think we are now in terms of the business climate about connecting and engaging? Is it still very much, hey, I got to have my elevator pitch and I've got to come in and, do the whole hard, kind of presentation to people to validate, my place and my standing being in this group or part of this organization? Or do you feel like it's adjusted a little bit? Now, let me just clarify. The reason I ask that is you're in the community of tech in that space. You don't get a lot of people's attention if you don't have something significant to offer or you're not working on the new cool thing. How is it, evolved in your space to see how people connect in today's climate? Is it still very much product or service focused and the pitch focused, or are people starting to recognize in order to get the good conversations going that they need to do what you and I did so long ago?
As always, the answer is it's complicated or it depends.
Such a great answer. It
Um,
applies.
um, I think part of, and I know we're gonna talk about all of these components, but when AI blew up in, 22, 23, um, I felt that tectonic shift, even though, like, I am not a techie, although I'm married to one, my youngest daughter is really into it, um, but it was for me as somebody that's been in the executive coaching space,
Yep.
and in Silicon Valley, and also just very global, like, I'm Ukrainian, married to a Spaniard, I speak 4 languages, I'm seeing the bigger picture, this isn't like, "Let me just look at my little zip code of where I am." Um, there is something that's shifting so fundamentally about human relationships in the future of work, and, my approach is, like, very much beginner's mind. I'm like, "I do not know this, and I can either choose to be scared or I can choose to be curious." Um, likely both, but leaning leaning towards curious.
Yep.
And all of this was happening during huge layoffs, and Silicon Valley was particularly hit by it, and it with classes of workers it doesn't normally hit. And so knowledge workers used to be like the tippy top of the pyramid in terms of like high paying jobs with amazing benefits. And that was very much at risk.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that amplified. Although there's an optimism that I have about how things are going to go, but it depends on people behaving well, which they don't tend to do. And so we can talk about that. But to your point about the relationship piece and networking, I feel like we're there are gonna be like 3 approaches that are going to be unfolding. Um, I think the sort of the influencer approach is going to be a big thing, like, how many people can get the most number of followers and be a LinkedIn influencer and be, whatever the platform of choice is going to be. So I think for business, it's more LinkedIn and X are the main platforms.
Sure.
So there's that's always I think that's always going to be the case. I think throughout the history of humanity, there've always been the, like, who are the people that are in the public square that are getting all of the attention?
Yep.
So, I don't think that's new, and I think it's going to remain, like, a category of influence. But I think, on the other end, there are the people that are worth knowing that you don't know about, and those are the people that I want to, like, give them that huge leap. Um, they've got this reluctance, they've got this ick factor about networking. They don't like to kind of brag about themselves, as they call it. They don't, um,
Dude,
you
that's
know,
me.
there's
100% me.
well, I
I
know we're peas in a pod about that,
Yeah, yeah,
but I think this idea of, "Oh, let my work stand on its own merit." Um, I don't think that's true anymore. I don't think it was ever fully true, but I think it's less true now because of everything that AI can do. It's all about relationships. I don't think, even in the near future, you're going to be able to get a job unless you've got, like, 3 human beings that can vouch for you. It's like almost, and I'm not in this world, like, I'm
yeah,
this immigrant kid that grew up in the wrong side of the tracks of Forest Hills, Queens, but, I think that, like, it's like the country club rule. Like, if you're not recommended by 2, 3 people, you're not getting in. I
yeah,
think that's actually what's going to be happening because without the it's almost gonna be like a human in the loop for you to even get in the door.
yeah,
And, so that's where I'm seeing things. I feel like that relational piece, um, that idea of, like, relational intelligence is really a big deal. That's sort of where all of my focus is in terms of, like, when I'm not working with clients and when I'm thinking about the kind of, content I wanna put out in the world and the kinds of conversations that I'm having, and even in my approach with my clients. It's all about how do you go out in the world, know your story, tell it compellingly, be curious about the other person, give, but also, like, you still have to put yourself out there. You don't need to be this super duper influencer, but your corner of the world needs to know about you. And I feel like a lot of people are missing that part. They feel like I
yeah.
honestly, and you can bleep this out, I wanna write a book called "Fuck the Algorithm."
We don't beep here. I love that. I love that title, by the
Great.
way. I love it.
Um, Whoever's listening, please don't take it, like, out of the benevolence of hu please don't take that title because I wanna write this book.
Yeah,
Um, I feel like everyone needs to know who their audience is, grow that, strengthen it, but I feel like people, wanna, like, um this fear of putting yourself out there, I just wanna change that, and I raise my hand as a very proud introvert, and I think what changed for me, and I think this probably happened in business school many years ago, because I come from a family of introverts. I feel like, uh, introverts can really put themselves out there once they have a clear story and a clear mission,
yep.
because then it's not about them and it's not about they're pitching something. It's like, I know my why, and I want that why to happen. And I think that's the missing piece for a lot of people. Um But man, I just wanna change the way people look at networking, and I don't know if it's a marketing problem, like, let's call it something else. But, I mean, Steve, this is what you've been doing for decades, so you know this. I'm preaching to the choir here, but I know we're talking to a larger audience, but I think that there's a way that you can turn down the anxiety and the ick factor by you have to know who you are, but I think, like, gamifying it
Yeah.
is, like, the best thing, and I can give you some examples, but I wanna pass the mic back to you in case you have any questions on what
I
I've
have
shared.
lots of questions. I want to come back and, you touched on those two based on the way that you look at. What's the third though? When you look at it from you said there were three kind of ways that you're looking at how this
Yeah.
breaks down. So,
Yeah, the third are the people that don't put any gas in the tank on this. The third are the folks that, they're like, "Oh, my work should just speak for itself," or, "This
yeah,
networking thing is BS." Like, you know, it's for a different type of, like, I'm not that kind of person
I'm
that
not a
networks.
salesperson. I'm not the business development. That's somebody else's job, or
Yeah, yeah.
people should
And
discover
it's
me great anyway, right?
Yeah, like, they'll come to me. I'm like, "No, no, no.
No,
No one is coming to
or
you."
especially now. Yeah,
Especially now. Like, I think that category, it could sort of, like, eke its way through life, that for the people that choose that approach, it's just not a viable approach anymore. I don't think it ever was a strong approach,
Right.
but it was passable. It's no longer passable. Like,
Yeah.
you either have to go the influencer route, which is not the way that I approach networking, but
Right.
3 cheers for the folks that have nailed that formula. I don't think that's most people. I don't think that should be most people. I've seen a lot of coaches try to do that and very unsuccessfully. Um, but I think that, like, relational intelligence, know your audience, know your own numbers, and then go for it. And I've got some examples, but again, like, you've got a number of questions. Let's dive in.
yeah. Well, I mean, you're giving some absolute gold. I love how you've broken this down. I think one of the things that I think when people hear influencer, especially in today's world, it's like when all you got to do is get on Instagram or TikTok, and you're like instantly, at least for I'm going to make the assumption about myself, but I also think it might, probably um, edge into your lane as well, which is, oh my gosh, like I could never be that. I don't know how to even start. And, so you kind of like already assume that you don't have the ability to be that influencer or, sort of like you said it so well, like, kind of the middle of the town square where everybody's kind of paying attention to you. And I think that the biggest challenge, I think, for a lot of people is they think, well, I would never have that. So why even try? And I think your second part is you are kind of actually an influencer, but it's just to a smaller group of people. It's those early adopters. It's the people that want to be your evangelist, that they believe in what you're doing or what you're offering, and they believe in you before they believe in your company or your product or your service. And
Yeah,
that means that you've got that collective credibility already established with them to the point that they're willing to tell somebody else. Maybe it's not in mass, it's not, singing your praises from the rooftops, but they're telling at least one other person that you didn't know about what it is about you that these people need to know. And that alone, I think, is where people that are sort of in that middle ground where you and I are, they sort of miss that point. Like, you kind of think, hey, I've got my 4 or 5 fans or 50 clients that love what we do or whatever, but it's not enough. And actually it is. It's just how do you refine and grow those relationships so that not only do you turn, one fan into two, but figure out how to turn it into more of an exponential return. And I think part of that is by, showing up and continually growing those relationships with those people, where I see a lot of people that kind of fall into that realm where I'll just point the finger at myself, where they've done enough and they're kind of sort semi-successful. They're not coasting. They don't really know how to leverage the power of their small network to turn it into a moderately bigger network, because they're not putting the energy or the effort towards it. And then it's the other people, like you said, kind of that third leg, which is, well, my work should speak for itself. I had a coaching client, brilliant individual, but I'm like, so let me just ask you, I mean, just based on your experience, how often do people just out of the blue find you? Well, they don't, but they should. It's like, well, that's part of the problem is that, in today's world, we're talking about, back in the day when you and I first connected 19 years ago or more, um, relationships kind of mattered, conversations mattered, the pitch definitely mattered. But at the end of the day, you wanted to leave people wanting to know more about you so that you could have invitations into the next conversation. But if you're not even having any conversations whatsoever, you get steamrolled today, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody has the attention span to actually actively go look or seek out somebody who's sitting in a corner doing brilliant work but not promoting or not doing anything. That person is going to continually suffer. And I tend to vacillate between, sort of that middle option and that option, thinking, gosh, why can't people figure it out? Well, if you're not talking about it and you're not cultivating or building relationships to help cultivate that, then you're gonna die on the vine. And then
yeah.
you get super frustrated. So I guess one of the questions I'd ask you is, when you find conversations with clients or, the folks that you would like to work with, and do you normally try to quantify where do they fall within that realm? Are they in role one, two, or three? And then from there, do you adjust your coaching strategies to help bring more of who they need to offer out into the world, but maybe do it in a way that either overcomes or aligns better with kind of how they've been doing it up to that point? How do you get engaged in that conversation with the folks that you work with so that you can help them find and discover their brilliance to share with the world?
That's a great question, Steve. So my approach is very like I don't necessarily categorize it in that way because the folks that I work with, they tend to be in that first bucket where they're like people should just find me,
Yep.
or they're
First, but
allergic to networking.
already the influencer or on the opposite side? Just
On
just
the
to
opposite, on
okay.
the opposite
Or
side.
okay.
Um, I feel like the folks that I work with tend to be in this continuum of they tend to have actually really amazing networks, right? So I work with a lot of folks that have like really great pedigrees. They work with great companies, um, and they've underleveraged their network. and um, but increasingly, like I'm working with folks that also need to expand their network. And frankly, all of us need to have this idea of like a T-shaped approach where you're
Mhm.
nurturing the folks that are already there, but you keep expanding.
Yeah.
So everyone needs to have that sort of T-shaped approach. Um, when I work with people, I look at sort of I think that when you think about relational intelligence, it's like I I oppose this idea of like there's like 10 steps and everyone needs to do them. For something like this, you're fundamentally getting people over a deep-seated fear,
Yeah.
often a fear of rejection,
Yeah.
and abandonment. I mean, I feel like we're getting into, like, the telenovela portion of the podcast. The evil twin arises and, you know, destroys the marriage. No, but there is
Why is he so
a
much more handsome than me? That's what I want to know.
but, um but I think that I mean, there are very old stories that people are telling themselves about why they're not putting themselves out there.
Yeah.
Now this idea of, like, what's the right version of putting yourself out there, that's the work that I do with them. But there is this initial part of, like, getting them to understand, um, that they're actually depriving the world of something amazing,
Yeah.
and, that's actually an equally terrible thing, and so they're better off picking the thing that delivers incredible whatever their superpower or powers are. So that's like an initial leap. But then there's the approach like, okay, I'm buying into what you're selling me, Sasha. I do like relational intelligence. I get it. I need to do this. Now, how? And I think that becomes that's where my secret sauce is like helping them understand their approach. Like, is it going to events, launching a Substack, um, doing a podcast? Hosting a summit. Like, there are all these different ways that are contingent on, their personality, their reality, like their schedule. Like, if you're, a mom of 3 young kids, your schedule reality is different than, like, me, who's an empty nester, and I live in Silicon Valley. So I think that there's, kind of understanding all of these components and helping them build a strategy around what's working for them, um, and their like proclivity for communication and their reality for their life. And it's amazing to see that click. That is like the happiest moment for me where they're like, um, and I always try to bring in gamification because I do think that there's magic in that.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's more critical than others. But I think for everyone, this idea of measure what matters is like, and I am like, I did that my own experiment, like, I'm very actively involved in Chief, which is this, network for executive women, an amazing organization, incredible women are in it, and I lead these coaching groups, and one thing um that is amazing is, we, we always kind of give a, like, what do you want to happen by the next meeting? We meet, like, every 1 to 2 months, and, they're like, "Sasha, you never tell us your thing. Like, what's the thing that you wanna do?" And I'm like, "Well, that's not my I'm supposed to hold this space and do this for you." They're like, "No, no, 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 we're not letting you off the hook."
Yeah.
And so in January, I was like, "You know what? I want to very organically grow my LinkedIn relationships, and not just connections, but, like, relationships.
Yeah.
Like, I want to, like, actively meet people and bring them into my network. Because in my mind, like, you need to distill everything down to, like, if you do this one thing right, like, 20 things flow from it, and my inspiration for that is another beloved Austin-based company, The One Thing. I love that org. I you
You're
know
referencing Gary Keller's work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gary
Yep.
Keller,
Yep.
and, yeah, that is just I have embraced that, for decades,
Yeah.
actually. Like, even
Yep.
before the book came out, I know of Gary and his work. And for me, I was like, "Okay, if I can get 100 organic connections every month, like, everything will flow from that." It means I'm going to events, it means I'm talking with people, it means that I'm engaging with them and they're engaging with me. It means I'm actively seeking
Yep.
moments where I can kind of engage with more people and be a part of more things, and it's been crazy. I've actually doubled that number, so I'm probably getting, about 200 organic connections a month.
That does not
Um,
surprise me at all. Yeah.
no, but here's the thing, and I appreciate that, but the reality is, like, if I look at my numbers, and I'm actually not a very, like, there are people who love their numbers and they track everything, like the sort of growth marketing bros, which I love that. I wish I had more of that in me, but I'm not a, like, look at my dashboard kind of person. And this is literally the only number that I've tracked. And what it has led to is mind-blowing. Like, I was like, "Okay, I wanna grow my community." Again, it's not about, like, how many connections do you have and likes and what goes viral and what doesn't. I'm like, "I wanna wrap my arms around AI. I wanna build a community around that. This is the future. How do I do that as someone who's not technical nor studied this?" And, for me, I do it through my various communities. And so, I graduated from Harvard Business School. I'm actively involved in the alumni clubs. Like, even a year after graduating, I became president of the alumni club of of Austin, like, as a whatever I was, 26-year-old. Um, and I've been, like, a zealot ever since. And so I raised my hand to do, very kind of hands-on programming for AI. So over, like, less than, the in within 3 months, I've done 6 workshops, which is
Wow.
an incredible pace for alumni programming, and, incredibly popular. I think we've had, like, 1,800 registrants, really incredible engagement, and I'm like, "I love this." And another part of, like, how do I get, I mean, you do the math on 100 new connections, like, organic connections, that's, 25 new people that you meet every week,
Yeah.
week in, week out.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Um, and it isn't like I'm not just reaching out to strangers. Like, my bar was, they need to, like, look me in the eye on some level, and we connect. And, so I started going to hackathons, and that is its own journey. That is another book that I'm writing, is sort of like the self-discovery that comes, from doing hackathons. And I'm actively trying to get more women to attend. So I'm doing this every time I go to a hackathon, I invite 20 women.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I mean, some guys too who are great and I wanna see them, but I'm actively trying to get, more women, engaged in AI, because you look at what the Anthropic study of who it's gonna who AI is going to negatively impact, and women, especially, like, women 40 and older, are gonna be heavily negatively impacted,
Yep.
and so I'm like, "I'll do my little bit to keep
Yeah.
that from happening." Um, so I think that there's, like, the gamification, if there's I want people to take a lot away from our conversation, but if there's a way that you can find a number for you, so for me, it was like 100 new connections a month, and that gave me flexibility where if I have, like, a weird week or I'm traveling, or, like, if I get 100 a month, I'm good, and I've actually doubled it starting in January. So that was my number. Before I did this 100 LinkedIn connections, I had a 5 reach outs a day.
Okay.
And again, if I had a bad day, I'd be like a reach out could be like happy birthday on Facebook. Like if I had a reach out is, or if I hear about an event, even if I'm not going to it, I'll be like, there's this great event. I know that you're raising money for your startup or you're looking for work or this is your space. So there was never a reason to not hit my number. Like it wasn't like this crazy challenging number to hit. Um, and it gets to this idea of, like, if you can consistently, like, check off the streak, this is like bringing Duolingo,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
Duolingo approach. Like, what can you do where you can get your streak? Like, I forget what it is in Duolingo. Like, do you have to do, like, 1 lesson and you get your check mark, and the lesson could be, like, a few minutes?
Yep.
I wanna encourage everybody, like, if to come up with something that can be a streak that isn't crazy because that's not sustainable, that relates to relational, like, building your relationships, whether it's deepening the ones you already have or expanding it, and making sure that you can check that box off.
I
So
I
that's my
love that.
recommendation.
That mindset, and you and I are very similar in that regard. I want to I want to be cognizant of something because I think people have heard me say it either on my prior videos or see me speak or talking specific about the number. What you're doing is not being um you're not list building, you're not just going out and spamming, people to hit the number. You're legitimately making a conscious inroad to get to know 25 people a week, 100 people a month, 1,200 at the end of the year. And not because, hey, just because I want to build my network out to be so massive that, I know anybody and everybody. It's, I want to know the right people doing the right things. And I want to set that as an example. And you're doing it because that is driving better outcomes and better results and leading to great A connections and B, hopefully the development of really strong relationships. And you see, and the reason I wanted to point that out is because I think a lot of people will be like, oh, wait a sec, is that how I do it? You have to have intention behind it. Sasha definitely has the intention. You are committed to, like, I'm not just going and picking some rando. I legitimately have to have a reason to have that person because I'm inviting them into my network. I'm inviting them into one of my only most powerful resources that I own, aside from my house, my car, my that is an asset that I can literally take anywhere I go, anywhere in the world. And you're building a network of true value because you know the people that are in there because you actually know the people that are in there. And I love that. It's not about just getting 1,000 people on your network or into your LinkedIn. It's about literally having the right 1,200 a year and building and growing from there. Because if you think about just the power of that, and it's something that I think that I talk a lot about is that you can either look at the people that are in your network as either a faceless name. You're like, I don't really know who they are or why they're in there, or I've got 10,000 people in my network, but I don't know any of them. Or I can confidently say that I could pick up the phone and call or reach out via email to these individuals and they will respond because there's that mutual value that has been generated and created. And you've got, whether it's a connection, and this is the way I frame it. I'll be curious to see what you say, but I always tell people there's a difference between an acquaintance and a connection. Acquaintance is someone that we kind of maybe met at an event, but we didn't really spend any time getting to know each other. I don't know one connection point that I could call out of the blue about who that person is. Once you've sort of established like a baseline and you build a connection, then the goal is to build it into a trusted connection. It's somebody that I kind of understand what they're doing, what's motivating and exciting to them, where their passion or where their drive is. And I actually want to contribute if I can, right? And that could be opening a door, that could be being, a subject matter expert for them, or just being a resource to you know, lend a shoulder to cry on or another set of ears to hear their idea. And from there, that's where you build a relationship with that person, and that relationship evolves. But really, the ultimate goal is to make it a trusted relationship. They'd be there for you anytime, anywhere, You just tell me when, right? And those are the kinds of ways that I look at it. I love the fact that you are so committed to doing this. And then as you're experiencing this, you're bringing those 20 women to say, look, you need to understand about AI. You need to come experience this. And I can see, and what I want my audience to definitely hear is you're going to these hackathons and you're not a coder. I'm not a coder, but the whole hackathon environment offers so much value to learn just to see what people are working on and what's happening and the problems that they're trying to attack and solve. There's so much value to you in terms of the not only cementing the connections you've had, but actually investing in the future of those relationships that you bring along with you.
Yeah, that's all spot on. I wanna share something because I know that some people are gonna have a negative reaction to the what I call gamification, but it's like, "Oh, that sounds very mechanical. You're trying to hit, like, 100 names, a month." And I actually have a very different way of thinking about it. I think at the heart of how I think about networking, and again, I say this as someone who people keep saying that, like, "There's no way you're an introvert." I'm like, "Well, then you don't understand who introverts are." But they're like, I think the main thing is we are fundamentally social animals. The thing that allows us to take big leaps and allow us to say yes even when we're not certain, and by the way, that's like 98% of the time that we're
Mhm.
not certain, is when there is trust, and you build
Sure.
trust with, spending time on relationships.
Yep.
And, some people who, um, kind of build a great following, like I look at, Ethan Mollick, who teaches at Wharton, and he is like one of my favorite thought leaders on AI because he's looking at it, through a business lens, but he's a nerd at heart. Like he's very geeky about like testing everything. And
Yep.
I say nerd and geek with the
Most
biggest love in my heart. Like I married a nerd. I am a nerd. My kids are
Yep.
nerdy. Like
Yeah.
all the love in
We
my
call
heart.
our own, right? So at the end of
Yeah. And, he's an influencer and he's got like if I actually asked a friend of mine who at the beginning of my AI journey, like, if I only follow one person, who should I follow? And she's like, Ethan Mollick. So I'm like, do would I aspire to have that level of like, oh, if you want to know about the future of work and relational intelligence and networking, like meaningful, authentic networking, who should you follow? Like, my dream would be for people to say Sasha Grinshpun.
yeah.
But at the same time, I think because we're fundamentally social animals, because that's the basis of trust, um, but s y y there's a way that you can kind of do it organically, but still, I feel like, the reason why I lean towards gamification is, like, it just gives you a structure because it's very easy to let, like, the urgent fires of every day, like, put that at the bottom of the list
Yeah.
because networking is hard, reaching out is hard because, like, I love the no, like, I did sales and business development right after my MBA, and, um, no's are not easy, but I've learned to embrace them. I'm like, the 19th no is gonna get me to the 20th phone call that's gonna be a yes. So I've embraced that fully, but most people have not, and the no's are hard. Um, and it's really hard when you reach out to somebody and they don't respond back. So all of those things are hard and we avoid them at all costs. And so having a number, at least for me, like I get in my own head, like things take too long. I get in my own head. If I've got a number to hit, I crank it out.
Yeah.
I'm able to just do the thing instead of thinking about doing the thing. And so I really for people that are like, "Oh, that feels a little, like, robotic to me," or that feels like it's leaning towards, like, a salesy approach, I just want people to understand the gamification allows you to do the hard thing, because without that, it's easy to let it like, it's just not gonna happen. But I also wanna encourage because I think a lot of people, do, like, the New Year's resolutions approach where they're like, "I'm gonna go to the gym every day." I'm like, oh, nay, nay. Like, just go to the gym once a week, and if you do, like or, like, put your sneakers by the door or by your bedside, whatever it is. For me, uh, the tortoise wins the race every time. Like, this whole like, is it James Clear that did the 1% Better Atomic Habits? So, literally, like, I almost like, I have clients who are super ambitious, almost like that is my tribe, super ambitious, like, go full throttle. I'm like, I actually have to hold them back and be like, I want you to do the smallest thing right now
Yeah.
and do that for a week. And then they sort of, it's such a, it's such a great approach because then they're like, because then they want to do more. but,
I'm done. I'm
but
ready. What's next? Yeah.
I'm ready. Come on, why are you holding me back, man? Um, but I think that there is something that 1% better really just makes it sustainable and gives you wind beneath your sails and just leads to this amazing flywheel where you get all of this positive reinforcement instead of the fear of the negative. And I mean, I swear by that approach. That's what I've been doing for the past couple of decades, and clients have like I've s the shifts that I have seen with virtually everyone that's gone through this process is just phenomenal. Too many people try to do too much too soon in a way that's not who they are, and then they just crash and burn.
Yeah, and it just crash and burn.
Yeah.
I love that. To touch on your gamification piece so that my audience really understands it. Y'all are already gamifying whatever you do in life. You may not recognize it, whether it's the most efficient way to the office, maybe it's if I make this light, right? If I make it through this green light, I'm the day is going to be awesome, right? Or just our feedback we get from our vehicles about whether we're driving efficiently or we're doing the best that we possibly can. I remember the Nissan Leaf was like really the first automaker to really embrace gamification about how well you accelerate, how well you brake, how efficient you are with your trip in terms of gas mileage. These are all things that they would present Nissan Leafs to you to say, "Hey, good job, awesome." And the people that I knew that did it, that didn't really, they weren't gamers, they weren't really in that world. They would strive for those what my COO would call flowers, right? I want my flowers, I want my credit, I want my thing. It's why I like Duolingo. I actually on Saturdays just celebrated my 365th day, right? So I'm
Yay!
367 now, and I do it because I want to be better at certain things that I just wasn't good at in school. And it isn't because I want to be a nerd or a God love you. I mean, I would love to speak four languages. I just like to speak one really well and then speak another one pretty good. And what I've found is that I got into that, and whether I'm doing Spanish, whether I'm learning Italian, I'm actually started Navajo last week. Why? I have no idea,
Wow.
but
Go
because
for it. I love
but
it.
then I also tied to math. I hated math as a kid. I was
Yeah.
told I was stupid from the third grade on when it came to math. And you know what? I was stupid when it came to math because I didn't believe in myself and didn't do it. But now I'm like going through their app on a daily basis and learning now back basic some of the basic things that I didn't get or grasp. And I'm like, I get it now. I understand it. I can get it. Now let's move on to the next challenge, the next thing. Gamification is really part of our existence as human beings. Whether we left the cave and we were going to go tend to our crops, or we were going to go take on the saber-toothed tiger, or if we were going to be able to survive for a day, gamification was part of that. And what I like about your approach is that you have a target that works for you. And everybody out there listening, you find the target that makes sense to you. I tell audiences when I speak about the ripple, it's like, I just want you to do one thing for me. I want you to make an effort to make a difference in somebody's life or in the world some way one time a day. And then when you're laying your head on the pillow at the end of the day, you run through your day and you're like, what did I do to make a difference? And what happens is if you set the goal at one, well, one becomes easy. So then you want to do two, and then you want to do three. And next thing you know, you're doing things throughout your day for the entire week. And when you actually look at your week in review, like, wow, it made a difference. You're doing that same thing through the connections that you're making, the relationships that you're building, and the value you bring to the table. I have no doubt you could like discover the greatest new whatever, right? New product, new service. And if you wanted to launch it, look at how many people would, hey, Sasha, you're awesome. I sign me up. That's the value of what you're doing, even though that's not your ultimate goal or the outcome. That's the power of the present network that you're building. And I'm so for it. I mean, I think what you're doing and how you're doing it is great. And I think if people do think about the gamification piece, there's that challenge to do daily, whatever it might be, whatever you're setting, but we all need that because otherwise it's just another mundane day, right? But if you have a challenge of some form of gamification, whether it's brushing your teeth, oral, like Oral B's got the whole, app that goes to how long you brush your teeth and how well your coverage was. And did I get my, like, bright smile at the end of each session? We're all familiar with it, but not a lot of us are putting it towards how we build relationships or grow our personal or professional networks. And I love that you brought that up. It's just, that's gold right there.
And Steve, you're inspiring me to I think there's another, kind of concept I wanna share with the folks that are listening. I think fundamentally, where what I see make a difference for people to embrace authentic networking is instead of viewing it as a chore, it's like I view it as play. Like, the
Yeah.
way that, and the way that I am looking at AI, it's basically like, what if I'm, like, I'm like, I feel like I'm starting kindergarten again. Like, with all of the curiosity of a five-year-old,
Yeah.
but with all of the knowledge of a 50-year-old. And, and it is I can't wipe the smile off my face. I'm like a walking Cheshire cat. People are like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, "Why are you so damn smiley all the time?" Um, but there is something when you're learning something new in a way that's really driven by curiosity, it's just a different way of being in the world. And when people are like, "Oh," like, when I go to all these things, it's actually very sweet, like, people are so bad at their pitches, like, they're so bad at their pitches. And pitches, like, by itself sounds very salesy, but genuinely, you want people to know who you are and what you do, like, very quickly.
And why they should
Um,
care, period. Yeah.
yeah, and yes, and it really starts from the premise that you've got a lot to give to the world.
That's right.
Period. Like, period. Whether you're a s you're in a startup, or you're looking for work, or you're a thought leader trying to get more jobs, or you're trying to get on a board, um, there are amazing things that you've got to give to the world. Or you might be figuring out what you want. Like, there's a very small part of my portfolio where I'm working with actually the kids of some of the executive coaching clients. And by kids, I mean like people in their 20s that are early career. And all of them are like, I wish I had you when I was when I was in my 20s. And I have them go to networking events, not necessarily with a definitive pitch, but a curiosity pitch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm at a crossroads where I'm looking at these 3 different paths. I'm curious what your point of view is. Or, like, I know that this is what you've decided to do. Tell me more about that. Like, you don't have to go and be like, "This is what I'm looking for." It could be like, "You've done something cool in your life. I'm looking at, like, I'm that's among my options," or, like, "I'd love to know more about your approach, but it's because I'm at a crossroads." You don't have to go with this definitive thing. You could go with, like, a curiosity pitch. People love to talk about their life and why they made the choices that they made. It is, like, one of the most powerful pitches that you could make is, like, I'm at a crossroads and you are wise, tell me your story." It's the most powerful thing, and, having them see that and having that click, it's awesome.